Hi, good evening. This is Rajul Dutt here. Now, today's topic, which I'm going to deal, is stress management. Uh, we have understood in the last few videos as to what this terminology means us when we say management. Technically, not from the business point of view only, but for any person, for any individual to understand as to what management is now very important topic is as to how to this stress, how to deal with this stress. Uh, we cannot avoid stress as of today's life, and but it can easily be managed. Now, when it's managed, that means it is present here, and how do you deal with the with this particular aspect, what we call it as stress. Now, stress as of now, there's no denying to it that it has over the last say 1 decade, this stress and stress management is all talked about throughout. And even the youngsters, whether the students, whether the young professionals, or even the senior professionals, one thing which has come up, which is being talked about, which is being discussed largely, is the people, they are under stress now. Stress is, again, what I see is, in effect, it is a fact of life now. When we talk about stress, whenever you are or whatever you are doing, it is of you cannot avoid stress. Avoid is part I mean, stress is part and parcel of the work life. Even if you are not working, even if you are for example, houses, they are also into continuous stress. Why? Because there are so many activities they have to perform. Activities in the sense, what to cook, and at what time to cook. There are such washing clothes, washing dishes, managing the people who are visiting, to buy vegetables, to buy so many things. In an Indian kitchen here, there are hundreds of items or products being purchased, and one has to keep the inventory as well. So these are things, or maybe you get a call that some visitors are coming, and or the relatives are coming to visit you. So anything which disturbs the normal working, it it leads towards, and or we feel like that it leads to stress. You cannot avoid stress. Therefore, important is that stress cannot be avoided, yes, of course, but one can learn to manage it, to so that it does not manage you. Now, important is to understand here is that we can manage stress and let not stress manage you. So this is, looking the opposite of it. And it becomes very easy. Now, changes in our lives, such as, for example, I say going to college or getting married, changing of jobs, illness, are all, these the frequent sources of stress. One or the other plays an important role. Now, for example, if I focus on students, like going to college, now keep in mind that the changes causes stress can benefit um, uh, oneself, or for you, for example. How does it, for example, going to college? Now, when you go to the college, you're moving away from the home to attend the college, and it creates a personal development opportunities. Personal development opportunities, when if you look upon these hurdles as an opportunities, you learn and you become a better person. Because when you go there, new challenge, you face new challenges. For example, you have to board a bus, or you have to board, say, a train, or maybe what in metro cities, we have got a metro trains. You have to change stations. You have to, hire an auto, or you are moving, say in on your own vehicle. So again, there is also traffic and everything. So these challenges, or these hurdles, these are the, if you consider it, they are the, these are the opportunities. Is important, or the hurdles are important, or whether you are what the work is important. Whatever work is doing, for example, you are going for studies, you are going for a job, you are going for, say, to buy anything. So there are certain hurdles. These hurdles, again, if we keep on thinking, we keep on pondering on one aspect, that will lead to this stress. Now, if we see it as an opportunity for personal, for example, if I'm able to negotiate a problem with myself, with my own capabilities, with my own abilities, and that will lead towards a kind of a pride for me. If I'm able to do that, if I'm not able to do that, I have to look out for ways. So you generate ways. I've discussed earlier also that when we do certain work in decision making is what, when one work is you are not able to do the work in, say, by one method, you have to generate an alternative method, because the problem is there and one has to solve the problem. And these problems, if these problems are persistently there, then it becomes stress. If you are able to solve the problems, if you think you are capable of dealing with the problems or in solving the problems, it definitely leads to the personality development. It adds to the confidence of the person. And therefore, again, I say, coming off with the problems, studying the problem, not make the problem to guide you. It is then it becomes easy. Look out for opera. There are chances that you fail, but who doesn't fail? But if you fail in one areas, you might succeed the next time, or you might be succeed in getting other things right. So stress is the way of human beings react both physically and mentally to changes, events, and situations in life. These are all related. Stress is all related to the events or situations given you are exposed to in life. And therefore, it physically you get exhausted, and mentally also. More so, it is all related to psychological. I say, I believe, and I focus on this area, that the physical stress is less. Physical stress is when you do physical more work, or you have to walk more, you have to run more, you have to climb up the stairs, and so on and so forth, so many things. So that leads to physical stress. Now, physical stress is considered to be like not. It is not a prolonged thing. You take a rest, and you release the stress, body stress or physical stress you have done to the body. But what about the mind? It keeps on tickling. It keeps on tickling. The more you try to avoid it, the more it comes to it, and it comes to the surface every now and then. Even if you don't think, it comes up very fast. It comes up, on a regular basis. It comes on, even when you're not thinking. So how to control the psychological aspects, or the related to the the psychology of the person, or the functioning of the brain, for that matter, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. It settles down in the unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind keeps on reminding you the things repeatedly. So people experience stress in different ways and for different reasons. For example, if the reason is one, there are so many different reasons, and different people, they react to the different situations, and this is all related to perception. I will be dealing with the, to understand the basic fundamental meaning of perception. But here, for our own meaning, that is, perception is as to how do you look upon a particular situation, a particular event, and therefore the reaction is based on your perception of a situation. Or for example, if there are two people who take a ride on a roller coaster. Now, one is maybe taking a is enjoying the all fun in the roller coaster. The other is taking it as a stress, as a as something which is not good for the person. So the one is screaming because he or she is enjoying the roller coaster. One is screaming because he's feeling, maybe he's feeling like what we call it as a dar. And a person who feels like it is not good, becomes nervous on a roller coaster. So the situation is same, but the two people reacting differently on the same situation. So a scream may be one, but the outcome of the screaming is, one is because the other is enjoying and the other is not enjoying. So if we should understand this aspect very clearly, that how to look upon a particular situation, a trouble, maybe a troublesome situation, whether it is really a trouble or not. So this is one has to look upon. But one thing is, let us very clearly understand that we cannot avoid stress. We have to deal with the stress. And today I'll be just focusing on an easy way as to how what do we understand by stress, and how do we keep on relieving from this stress, because it keeps on coming. It's not one time activity. It is again repeated activity, continuously goes with the person, because every day you faces new challenges, because you faces new situations, whether in a business, whether it is a personal life, and so on and so forth. So there are various situations that keeps on coming, which keeps on popping up, and then you have to solve. You have to solve. If you do not solve these problems, if you're not able to deal with the problem, then it becomes acute. It leads towards a kind of an illness. So it is very important for all of us to understand the stress, to manages to beat the stress, to reduce the intensity of this stress, so as to cope up with the situation in a congenial environment. So the very concept of stress is, it is all related to emotional health. When we talk about stress, we talk about the emotional health of the person, and that is why earlier I said it is a psychological. It is more psychological. Physical stress is not considered to be that. Yes, of course, if you do more of the physical exercises, or you have to do more of the physical work, that will lead towards the distortion. That will lead towards say the towards physical illness kind of things, whether you feel exhausted, or you feel the energy has gone down, so on and so forth. But the mental stress is important for us to understand, and how to deal with this is very important, because it leads towards the emotional health of the person. And to maintain the emotion, to balance the emotional health, is very important to deal with. If you come into the into the racket of this, if you come into the the plan of this stress, it becomes really very difficult then to move ahead, because there are all problems. I mean, there are every kind of problems which one has to face. So the very concept of stresses, or the stress management for that matter, is to how to manage stresses. Stress, reactions takes place in various forms. I have said it takes place in various forms, and there is no way. But again, we do not have an answer. If this is the stress, you do this. If this kind of a stress, you do this. No, it is again very subjective in nature. It is not. It is very theoretical in understanding, in discussing. But because as I said, the problem here is that one problem is maybe other is not being considered as a problem by the other person, and therefore the degree of the stress, it keeps on changing. It keeps on it becomes a different for different people, being the same situation. Or this, what I said is subjective experience of distress, like feeling tense, worried, anxiety. Now these leads to the stress on a higher note. The feeling of distress is where you think the outcome should come as per your own belief. So, but it doesn't happen, in real life. It is not so that every time what you think as an outcome, it should come. Now, if the outcome is not as per your own wish, you do the work and you decide the outcome, and the desired outcome does not come. That again leads to whether it is right or wrong. That is a separate issue altogether. The outcome, whether it is right or wrong, it is not only the right or wrong. What I'm trying to say is that when we decide upon, and if the answer is not according to as to what is decided, that leads to it multiplies into the distress, and this distress is the sole reason, a big reason. I do not say if it is the only reason, but it is one of the big reasons. Distress is one of the big reasons for which leads towards the stress. So physical symptoms is again is a response to stress, such as high blood pressure, or raised blood pressure, or tension, headaches, upset stomach. These are the physical symptoms of stress. When you are in stress, when there is an exam, if there is a tendency, you feel like vomiting, or your stomach gets upset, tension comes up, builds up, headache. So all these are the physical systems. Third is responding to stress with, say, unhealthy habits, such as, people, tries to, in order to not to manage stress, they try to avoid the stress, and that leads to, how they, negatively one responds it. For example, you smoke more, or you take more of the alcohol, or overeating. Now these are again one of these are the symptoms again, when you try to avoid the stress, not understanding the stress, and try to get a temporarily relief from the problem, or the from the distress. And this is again, it leads to another kinds of problems, because you keep on, you one has go for more smoking, more cigarettes, for that matter, or more, the quantity of the alcohol to increase it. But that is again temporarily. When the quantity, when the hangover is down, again the stress, the problem again comes up, builds up. So this is not a solution. A temporary solution, yes, of course, people, they respond to the distress, to avoid distress, is in this form. Another is decline in the performance. When you are not happy, when you are, you feel troubled, when you feel low, any work you do, the performance level comes down. And for studies of for students, again, this becomes a very important, because what you are trying to learn, what you are trying to understand, you are not fully, because the mind is divided among so many other activities, which actually is not a problem. But when we, we consider, yesterday I said, the way you guide your mind, it responds to that only. If you say, okay, fine, I should be able to do it, you should be able to do it. But if you say, no, maybe I can do it, maybe I am not able to do it, not there where the problems comes in. The brain says, no, you will not be able to do it. So you have to guide, you have to train your brain in such a manner. You have to manage your brain. You have to manage your emotions. And if you are able to, manage your emotion, which is very difficult, it's very easy to discuss about, managing emotions. But sometimes, and many times, I should say, it keeps on, uh, creating problems. It is very difficult, because again, one emotion triggers the another emotion, and triggers another emotion, and the whole lot of problem, from a small problem, it leads to so many big things at one time, because the mind is able to jump from one thing to another, from another to another, and it reaches to somewhere else, which is just away and far off from your small problem. It starts with the small problem. Again, the increased conflicts with the people, or decreased satisfaction in personal relationships. Now, as I said earlier, now a human being is a social animal. The human being has to rather interact with the people. It is not with the non-living things, it is with the by and large with the people. And therefore, if you are not emotionally stable, or you are in certain kind of stress, so that will lead, maybe you don't feel like talking to the people, you don't feel like mixing with the people, you don't like discussing with the people, you try to avoid the people. So these are not what I've discussed, these maybe 4 5, but these are just, they are just on one plate, for the purpose of understanding this, as to how do we respond to these stress. And these response, they are not the permanent solutions, they just get it multiplied, so therefore it is very important to manage or to deal with this stress. But dealing with this stress, as I've said, these are temporarily, they will not yield results temporarily. Of course, yes, if you have, you take a certain kind of say, say medicine, or for example, stress relieving pills you take, so those are all temporary, because when the effect goes off, again it comes up. So what I'm trying to say is, in order to reduce, this is not a prescription what I'm discussing right now. It is, as to how to manage. My purpose is as to what we have, what is management, and how do we relate it. So For business purposes, I'll be dealing with separately, what goes into business classes. But since these are what I'm dealing with this in the videos of late, and which I discuss, that would be the different part, the different types of things related with the management. So the management again, which we call it as the universal aspect, which can be applicable to any organization, or any kind of thing requires managing. And therefore this managing again management comes into this, right? The basic fundamentals remain the same. It is just as to where you are applying. My focus is on as to the application of the fundamentals of management, the various of application. We should be where it is can be applied, so that it becomes very easy for us to understand. So to reduce stress, you must be, or you should be able to be aware of the initial signs of stress reaction. Any kind of stress, we should not try to prolong it. We should not like to, we should not avoid it. To find out the reasons, to generate alternatives, how to manage, how to beat, how to come up with this situation, to understanding the situation into which you are, and the very basic reasons of the stress. They are very important to be identified. Then develop a basic stress management skills. Now this is where I've discussed skills management as to what are the various aspects, as to what are the various skills, and with the help of those skills as to how to manage stress. So these three, again, it becomes a three-dimensional aspect: management, then stress, and the basic characteristics or traits. You have the skills, what we call it as skills. Now this is an interrelationship between these three aspects, and how to you put together, how you make the combination of of this threesome, and we come up with the things. And you should be able to apply the stress management skills in real life. I mean, if you are able to, it's not theoretical. Theoretically we keep on discussing, but the very application of these skills is very important to combat with this aspect of stress. As I said, stress has to be there. We cannot avoid stress. Yes, of course, we can reduce it. Managing is reducing. So is the case in business. We study business management to not to eradicate the all the to all the problems, or not the problems, but to it is for to, we cannot avoid this risk. But the whole intention is, why we learn knowledge, we study business management, so that we are able to reduce the risk of every kind. So it is just reducing the risk. Elimination of the risk, nobody suggests, and it cannot be, because there are certain so many different situations, so many different aspects, and therefore it is I should not say key, but it is very difficult rather. So stress management is a wide spectrum of techniques and psychotherapies. It is more of the psycho aspects, and aimed at the controlling the person's level of stress for the purpose and for the motive of improving everyday functioning. So it is again an everyday. The shortcuts are not that will give no benefit. Shortcuts are not there. You understand it, fight it logically. So this is what we call it as stress management. It is generally accepted that a small amount of stress can help you to function effectively. So it is again not a negative aspect. For example, if there is no stress, we won't take things very seriously. We don't take things on the merit. But if there is a little stress, for example, exams are approaching. Now there is a stress. Okay, exams. One has to appear for the exam. So this gives us a moral boost up. Okay, no, I have to complete my syllabus. I have to discuss with the teachers. I have to understand what I've I'm missing. So a little amount of stress is a kind of a motivation to do the work. If there is no stress, you don't feel like doing the work. So little stress is again a positive aspect instead of a negative aspect. It's a sense of urgency to whatever you are doing, and helps to provide motivation. This is what I'm trying to say. A little bit of stress, understanding stress, coming under stress, one performs better, rather than when there is no stress. The stress in terms of generally, it is what is stress? A response to an appropriate level of pressure. I say now. So why? Because there is an inappropriate level of pressure. inappropriate, it vary from small to big. Again, this is very subjective in nature as to what is a small problem for me, maybe a big problem for you, or what is a big problem for you, or a big problem for me, maybe a small problem for you. So again, this is related, it is very subjective to discuss upon as to what is the level of stress, or what the level of stress it cannot be defined. So okay, fine, this is for you 40%, 60%, 80%. What, there are ways to and techniques to calculate, to measure the stress. The stress can be measured. That can be that I will discuss in a later stage when we are able to understand other things as well. And then I will deal with the as to how to measure the stress. But again, to understand it, this particular session is just to understand stress and to see that this stress is not always in negative. The appropriate amount of stress, again, subjective in nature, it varies from person to person. It is to it leads to motivation to do the work and to finish the work. And again, it becomes, as I said, it is very important for personality development, because when we talk about building confidence is when you are overcoming the problems with your own abilities and capabilities, or to do the work. So this becomes very important. So skills management skills, uh, basically, I'll just give a very theoretical and simple ways to combat, or to cope up with the stresses. Relaxation. Now, there are various exercises. For example, deep breathing. Deep breathing is, to control over your the breathing aspects. If it is fast, control it. You're breathing, even if you are exercising, physical exercising. Very important to go for a long exercises duration. One should keep, and this is again meditation, tension relaxation, imaginary. You're trying to look out. You're fine if you are able to control your breath. Most of the tensions is being released. If you are able to do that, and one should to it should not go up or should not go slow. Then there are behavioral changes to manage, the interpersonal situation and distress. Share your expectation with others, with your friends, with your, colleagues. There are people, to whom you rely, whether they are part and parcel of the situation or not. Maybe they are not related to business. They are not related to sports. They are not related, but you discuss them. So so that while discussing, the problem is. It becomes reduced, because the thought process, you have to somehow give a break to the thought process, a pause to the thought process, because the thought process in brain, it is very continuous. It is a chain reaction. So if you are able to make a pause in one thought process, again, it will change again the dimension of your thought process, and you start thinking on different aspects, which may or may not lead to the much stress. Or you should go for your exercise, physical exercises. One, again, to beat the stress. Again, you consume sensibly is, you should know as to how much to eat, what is the requirement. In stress, when you're nervous, it is a habit to eat more, and that makes no sense at all. So eat sensibly, and and be assertive is, okay, no, this will not harm me, this will not hamper me. So this is, again, goes most of it is, so how to, I said, it is very important to control your emotional this management is very important, is when we talk about stress. Or your relationship review, you go for as to, there are certain things which have hurted you in the past. So try to forgive, wherever it's possible. Communicate your feelings with others. I said, listening again is one of the most important aspect. You should listen, whether it is music, whether it is the discussions of other people, or motivational speeches. meditation. So these are the various things one can imbibe and can beat it, or you can deal with the the nature of the stress, because there is no prescription. Okay, this is for stress and this is a prescription. No, it is more or less the same thing and the same cycle. But the only thing is as to how strong you are, emotionally, as to how strong you are in understanding, and as to how do you deal with this emotionally. It should not go beyond a particular level being decided by you. So I hope you enjoyed the discussion today. That's all for today. Tomorrow I'll deal with one another new topic related to management, but from a different aspect. Thank you so much.